Now click one time in the screen and it'll make it active.
Okay,
Now
so
hit the home back.
right now we're just going to welcome everybody and talk a little bit about how to eat to live, to stop your cravings, and to get control of your hunger. And this is a course that is really proven to work. The problem is that a lot of people do not want to really change the way they eat. In order to change the way you eat, you need to reduce your cravings. And because if you don't, you're just going to keep going back and getting the same foods. And even in the grocery store, your body will be drawn to eat the foods that you're used to eating. And the way that you control your hunger is to change the way you eat and to eat the foods that are 100% natural and that don't have a lot of chemical additives or that aren't, processed in such a way that you are always craving the same things. So what I recommend doing, of course, is starting with a small fast, giving yourself a jump start, and then getting into food testing for 3 or 4 weeks. After you do this, you try one food a meal and then add combinations of foods that you do well with. But the things that you eliminate are your breads, your milks, your processed, your dairy, your any of your chips and sodas, Coke, especially chemical type things that are addicting to your gut and that create a lot of acidity. So, how you're doing and how you're eating and what's going on, kind of assess what you're eating. Summer is really hard. There's a lot of social events and you just have to get away from all of the traditional eating in order to combine your foods properly. And I often will take a hamburger and wrap it in lettuce if that's what's being offered, or just eat my hot dog with some fresh relish or other things that are not too full of sugar, but try to avoid just combining everything and keep it really simple. I just went out to Cafe Rio the other day and I got a salad with beans and meat and their lighter dressing, and just used a little bit of it and tried to combine my foods properly with my starches and my protein and my veggies and separate the two so that it simplifies the way that your gut is receiving your food and your body can detox it's easier on the enzymes in your body when they are more simple. The proteins take different lipase and amylase than the starches do. And so when you combine your foods, your body is putting out a whole lot of effort from taking that away from your immune system, and your health is diminished from it. But when you combine them so simply, you're not only not as full and you're able to lose weight more easily, you're also able to be more simple in the way that your body is digesting, and your detox can be a lot more general. To achieve this, you need to drink more water as well. A lot of people are quite toxic. You can add lemon, the doTERRA lemon oil, to your water and drink that, and plan to increase your whole foods and do some exercising and breathing. Be really definite about the way that you're defined, and frame your day with some good breathing exercises like I taught in last week's lesson, and maybe do some walking throughout the day, especially at night after you eat. If you eat later, like a lot of people that work do, get out and do some really good stiff walking and get your metabolism going well. And then I recommend using a good foundational product like the Lifelong Vitality. As many of you know, my husband and I are doing so much better when we take this trifecta of perfect supplements. The fatty acids are so well absorbed for us. Now, some people have noticed they've had a little bit of acidity or noticed a little bit of the oil And that is because of their own body's toxicity. So you need to drink more water and lemon and keep taking the vitamins because they're helping your liver and your gut detox. And then use grapefruit or the Digest Zen, Terrazyme, which is really good for detoxing, as well as in the tub, take soak baths for 20 minutes, not just a 10-minute, but really get your body into some good hot water with some Epsom salts that help open up those pores and pull out the toxins that your body is trying to release while you're going through this period of really healthy eating. I like lavender or peppermint in my water. Some other ones that are good are Roman chamomile. If you're using Terrazyme, if you can't really get a lot of greens in your body, you can use the Terra greens from the doTERRA or the Zendocrine once a day, a capsule or a couple of drops in your water. I really recommend eating a lot more live foods while you're cleansing. Live foods that have enzymes in them will help your digestion and your body aid in the cleansing that you're trying to do. A green drink first thing in the morning will, say you had a bad day like me today with grandkids and I don't know, grilled cheese sandwiches just seem so good, even though I don't normally eat that way. And so tomorrow I'm going to take some celery and some fresh parsley from my garden or pick some up at the store, maybe about a fourth of a bunch of parsley and some celery, blend out with some other leafy greens, maybe some kale or something, and then spin it through the blender and drop it through the colander and drink the water. I put a little lemon and lime sometimes in that, and that holds me for a couple of hours. It feels really filling to me. I don't know why, but as a healthy person, I get a lot of energy, and the minerals really keep my stomach salts, and your breath will smell great as well. So some of the foods that heal and that make you feel better are broccoli. It really protects against estrogen-related cancers, and it's known to really be a powerful food. Flax seeds, they give you some really great essential oils as well as your E-omega, and help prevent strokes and other problems because of the lubrication it gives the cells in your body and in your blood. Kidney beans are a great alternative to meat, and they're a really cleansing food. Onions and garlic, I literally cannot get enough of these three products. I cut up leeks and put them in with the garlic and onions when I'm making a soup or beans or stew, or anything that I'm grilling basically is full of those foods. Papaya, when I eat a papaya, I peel it, I eat it, and then I take the skin and I actually rub it on my legs. I believe that your body absorbs those enzymes from it really well. And it's even a papain is a very good thing in your gut. Bok choy cabbage is another one, rather than just your regular green cabbage, that helps protect against cancer. And it's got a really good deep root system. And it is wonderful, chopped up in different soups. It's kind of an Asian, they use it a lot more. So if you like to cook that way with stir fries and stuff, bok choy cabbage is an excellent choice. And I like the baby bok choy. Spinach is also really good for you, and you can blend that in your green drinks. I take beet greens like spinach or any green tops and cook them down, and so they're soft, and then cut them up and put a little butter on those, and that's just really an excellent food. So what do you do when cravings strike? The thing that I think that's really important is when you're around other people, or you're in a social situation, or you're trying to detox and eat carefully, and your body is really craving a lot of foods, and it does. It's just terrible. These chemicals really have a power over us. My worst one is sugar. I don't do well with caffeine drinks and whatnot either, but um, I think it's just really important to have things prepared for yourself. Spend a little time and money on you and have backup foods that you can eat. I really like flavors in my drinks, but sometimes just a little lime and stevia will get me through a craving attack. And it leaves me feeling not deprived. So you don't want to deprive yourself when you're eating to live. You want to give yourself the nourishment that you need and then let your brain know that you're doing what you're planning to do and that you're okay. So write down the times of the day that are your weakest moment and get an action plan in place. For instance, if you're going to a party, just talk to yourself, make a salad that you know is really yummy. I sometimes take some um, pecans and chop them just a little, throw a little xylitol in a frying pan and put my nuts in and get just a little sweetness over it. And then when I'm at that barbecue and I have that salad with just those few little nuts in them, that gives me such a pleasure. I don't feel like I am deprived. And sometimes you go to things and there's nothing for you to drink. So if you just take your drink with you and pack it full of ice and really make it, fresh with some lime, which is so satisfying and gives you just what you need to get through a party without, really blowing out your waistline again or getting yourself back into craving sugar, which is a real pitfall for most people. So what I do when cravings strike me, and I notice when I'm having cravings, cravings are different than hunger. Hunger is when you're really hungry. Craving is when you want to eat because you're bored or because you're frustrated or because you don't have enough serotonin in your brain. So you want to do things that distract you from this situation, like listen to some music and actually realize and say I'm hungry right now, but I think it's just because I'm thirsty, so I'm going to take a drink, or I'm going to go for a walk or listen to some music. If you can go to the gym, not during COVID, but when things are open, I just go for a walk in the mall or go for a walk around the block, or ride my bike. I do something outside of the kitchen, even though I really love cooking and kitchen projects. And I'm not struggling with my weight right now because of some situations I'll tell you about in a few minutes. But um, I try to do kitchen projects when I'm cooking, and when I'm craving food, I try to stay out. I even made a closed sign for my kitchen. And that seems a little weird, but if you are serious about not going in the kitchen and you feel like you're going to have cravings, get your magnet kitchen close sign and put it up on your fridge to remind yourself and everybody else that mom is supposed to be, or dad, out of the kitchen. So like I mentioned, squeezing lime into some water. If you're not familiar with stevia, um, it's wonderful, guys. And I would recommend that as a sweetener. Take some Slim and Sassy, the gum. I have some right here. I don't know if any of you have recently tried this Slim and Sassy gum, and that is something that you can try to get your brain to settle down. And just let me tell you how well the Slim and Sassy works. So Julie Brown's friend Denise was doing some projects with me, making some oil mixtures for some people that we were working with, and we went way past my food time, and so I was really hungry. And as I got up and ready to leave, I just had surgery on my cervical spine, so I was healing and I wasn't feeling well, and I stood up and I was so lightheaded. And I mentioned to her that I didn't feel well. And she said, oh, let me help you. I'll get you some Slim and Sassy. Hold on and open your mouth. And she shook a drop of Slim and Sassy in my mouth. And I was stepping down the steps and I was super lightheaded. But by the time I got to the third step, So there was only 3. I was totally fine. It was that fast that that stuff balanced out my blood sugar, and I felt immediately better. Now, if I'm really struggling, and I have been through periods of my life where I was really struggling, and even though I have a lot of ability, I still have very, very difficult cravings, especially if I get into eating peanut butter and jam. So instead of eating peanut butter and jam, which is for me a craving and a downfall, and it opens up Pandora's box, because then I want more, and then I want milk, and there's a lot of lactose in milk too, and your body doesn't break down the fats in it very well, so it just opens up other cravings for me. So what I do is take celery, rinse it out, dry it off, and smear a little bit of peanut butter down it. And just the savory of the celery and the, the peanut butter really helps me. I can do a handful of nuts. Some people can't. If you can do a handful of nuts, do a handful of nuts, and just get yourself through that little, maybe just need a little protein boost, and you'll feel better. Now, I recommend making some fruit and cookie snacks that are really good solutions, so that you don't feel like you can't have anything. Now, I personally cannot do very many sweets. It really messes with my gut. My immune system doesn't fight off candida very well, so I can do okay with a few of these, but even when I'm trying to get off sugar, these are really tempting for me. You're looking at it going, really? This doesn't look that great, but you just roll these cookies out and cut them in pieces and put them in the freezer. And then when you need something, take it out and snack on a couple of them. And they're really high in protein, and the fat in them is really supportive to your digestion. And yes, there are low sugar cranberries. I get them at Walmart, so just look for them, and ask your grocer for them if they don't have them, and you can use them. And chia seeds are super high in fat, and a lot of them are very high in calorie. But you can use these as a little boost, and these will hold you well. And you don't need to copy this down. I have if you just get with me, I will send you my recipes for these things. And I really recommend this for about week 4 or 5, after you've been doing some food combining, because this is a real hearty food to eat on a starch day. It has some cooked squash in it, and Brussels. You can cook these in the oven or brown them in some oil, and some fresh basil. I use the Granny Smith apple chunks, and you can serve this cold or warm. A handful of chopped craisins as well make it so super tasty. And you can add a touch of dressing, and just make your own with a little Dijon mustard and a little olive oil, and or rice vinegar or a red wine vinegar or balsamic. Any of those would work. When you're making a salad, if you put a little bit of a hard-boiled egg in it, it will help on a protein day. It'll really help hold your hunger. And some pecans with just a little bit of xylitol, and melt them in the sugar like I mentioned, or get them hot and get your nuts hot, and then just sprinkle a little xylitol on them. So it's no sugar. So there's 0 calories in that. It's not going to bring your glycemic index up, even though it's really a sweet, wonderful flavor. Making a balsamic vinegar dressing is really critical when you're detoxing, because you're going to be eating a lot of greens. This is a great way to support your health, and especially in the summertime when you have a lot of these fresh vegetables and cucumbers and tomatoes and peppers that are so readily available. So I recommend using a balsamic vinegar and some olive oil. You can use mostly vinegar and less oil, because you're reducing your fat that way. And you only need a few tablespoons of good oil a day. You don't need a lot. And dice up some green onions, and you can use a little bit of xylitol to sweeten it, and some Dijon mustard. Believe it or not, I like to take a garlic clove and mince it up with some green onions, and I like to blend it in the blender and just pour it over, kind of emulsify it and pour it over my salad. So there's some ideas for a really great salad for you. I think it's really important if you're trying to supplement um, your diet with protein to use eggs. They're very good protein. I studied a lot in nutrition, and I've worked with a lot of people that are trying to lose weight, and they don't do well if they don't get enough eggs in their diet and enough protein. And it's very difficult to get enough protein in your diet. So you can always just use it, scramble an egg in a mug. If you don't want to get a lot of stuff out, and just get it down with a little bit. I mean, it doesn't need to be fancy. When you're eating to live, you're not really eating to um, you're not really living to eat. It doesn't really need to be that great, because you're really trying to support your body with the proper nutrition, and that's your focus, and that's what makes you feel satisfied and happy. And it is a mindset. I'm so grateful for that mindset. It saved me so much trouble of not having to be a yo-yo person that's always, really just loving food so much that I can't control what I eat. But when I'm eating, I'm actually looking for good nutrition and good health. My favorite way to prepare eggs is a frittata. And the way that I do that is I crack a couple of eggs, use the yolks in two and take out the yolks in two. And so I take some cauliflower and broccoli and onions and chop it up and steam it for a few minutes until it's really, really bright green. And then I whip up my eggs with some salt and pepper, pour it on top, stir it around a little bit, put the lid on, let it just turn the heat off, let it just cook real slowly for about 10 minutes, and then plop it out onto a plate with some wonderful, yummy salsa, fresh salsa or something. Hard-boiled eggs is really helpful for me. I usually cook 18 at a time, and then I use it in the fridge for a couple of weeks and pop out the yolk, salt it, and eat it, or put just a little dab of hummus inside. You're keeping your goal in your mind's eye is really important, and keeping your cravings to a minimum and preparing healthy foods and just making that choice in throughout the day to drink plenty of water and get your nutritional hand will really help you avoid the cycle of ups and downs, and going through all of the difficulties. Basically, you want to trust yourself. You want to have a really great attitude about yourself. You want to be your best advocate, and what is in your brain and what is in your heart, and just having that love for life, framing your day with a very distinct desire to take care of yourself and make it a good day is critical. So start out with some good breathing, take some breath in the morning, and then let it out slowly, and get up out of your bed. I really think some morning routines of just going straight to your knees, thanking your Father in heaven for your day, preparing yourself to have a green drink, shower, do the things that make you feel good, and then you'll do a lot better throughout the day. I always do better if I take care of myself first, and I think that goes for all of us. Do any of you have any questions or any comments you'd want to add to our class today before we stop? Angelique, how are you doing? Can you unmute yourself?